Welcome to a special weekend edition of the Ringer WNBA show. I want to start with UConn and Paige Bueckers, who officially declared for the draft and dropped 40 points, a UConn tournament record. This is a program that has had Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Nafisa Collier, Maya Moore. No player who has ever played for UConn has dropped 40 points in a tournament game until today. Paige Bueckers was the first ever to do it, and I think that it is such a perfect signal of her finally doing the thing that Gino Auriemma, even within the course of this game, has been pushing her to do, take on the role of the killer, no longer being the giver, no longer deferring and fading into the background. And you saw it early in this game. Oklahoma gets out onto an 8-0 start, and then and you know, like, UConn's doing its egalitarian thing, and you're seeing Jana El-Elfi take mid-range jumpers at the start of the clock, and that's the sort of thing that you do not want if you are UConn. You want to play as a team, but you don't want to be disorganized, and most importantly, you want the ball in the hands of your best player, Paige Bueckers, a senior, who is going to have to be the player that gets everybody on track as well, who has been in these positions before. And she did just that, she comes out and she hits a transition three, and then more importantly, just starts spamming pick and roll with Sarah Strong, hitting mid-range jumper after mid-range jumper, just very intentional about her offense. But this was a game where Gino just continually challenged her, right? Like, there was a timeout or a play stoppage where he is talking to the sideline reporter, and he's basically saying, like, I don't know what it's going to take for her to take over, like I've been telling her to. Maybe you could talk to her. He also took her out of the game in the second quarter because her defensive effort was just not where he needed it to be. She plays bad transition defense, allows Peyton Verhulst to get free for a couple threes, and you just don't want that. Like, you don't want Oklahoma to get rolling on that end in that way. And he sits her down, and that's just that's been the story of their relationship. It is the reason that Paige Bueckers, who, is pretty much universally praised in every instance, except for when it comes to when Gino Auriemma is coaching her. That's what she wanted, right? And we are now in a position where I feel like she is undeniably, with all due respect to Lauren Betts and to Madison Booker, the best player remaining in the tournament. And is just like kind of hit this stage, and UConn has kind of hit this stage where I just feel even more confident that they are going to be the team that is hoisting the trophy by the end of the year. But we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet because we're only in the Elite Eight. And UConn is going to be facing USC in what was the closing game tonight. And I thought that was a really interesting performance. I think everybody was very curious to see what USC would look like without Juju Watkins. This is a team that, frankly, just was never as good as the sum of their parts on the offensive end this season, and had a whole lot of offense to replace with Juju Watkins being out. She produced 27% of USC's total points this season. So you just kind of knew that obviously they were going to look different, but that potentially they were going to be able to have enough firepower to make up for her. Now, USC did win this game on the defensive end, but I just want to shout out a couple players on both ends. Like, Kennedy Smith was incredible. 19 points in this game, also just making incredible two-way plays, a couple steals in the fourth quarter that just really sealed the game for USC. And that's just the type of player she is, like the best point of attack defender, definitely the best point of attack freshman in the nation. And you kind of forget, right? Like, this is you can kind of go down the line with USC with this type of stuff, but this was a player who's a number 6 recruit in the country in high school and actually went toe-to-toe with Juju Watkins. She is a California kid, and they have played against each other, and there's a lot more in the tank for her. Kiki Iriafin, not the best night for her, just as the focal point of Kansas's defensive scheme and, having to deal with Ioka Lee, but somebody who definitely hit some key shots in the second half of the game. And Avery Howell, another freshman who hit 4 threes and has just always been one of the most poised players that you could see for USC, despite the fact that she is a freshman. Kaylee Heckle had some nice moments after, kind of being taken out of the rotation, kind of doing like the Kaylee Heckle stuff that we're used to seeing, just end of clock, end of shot clock, crazy drives, like finishing, with English, circus shots, stuff like that. Really, really fun game. And just good to see her kind of feeling like herself again. Obviously, it would be an uphill battle against a UConn team that I think they are favored by 12.5. They're also, favorites to win it all. And I think rightfully so. They're favored by 12.5 in the Elite 8 matchup that is going to be on Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Or did I have that the wrong way? I don't know, guys. It's late. I forget. I think, no, it's the other way because Brian is producing for us, and it is almost 11 p.m. where he is. So thank you to that man. We appreciate him a lot. So anyway, a little brain fart there. It's late. It's late. Just watch basketball all day. But the point being that I just think that this is a USC team that is in kind of a state of self-discovery, which is rare for a team in this juncture, right? Like, it is almost April. Most teams kind of know who they are, and I feel like they use the element of surprise against Kansas State. This is, a scout that really only had, I think it was 110 total clips without Juju, and now UConn will definitely have this game to work with, but they have the element of surprise on their side, and they just have a lot more firepower than we have kind of like been accustomed to seeing out of them outside of Juju, because this is a team that hangs its hat on defense so much. So I don't necessarily see them being able to beat UConn, but I'm just kind of curious what they look like. And if you kind of want to see things from a process-oriented side with USC, I'm just going to be curious to see what their freshmen look like. Kiki Iriefin is going to be gone. Rhea Marshall, who was incredible too, clearly did not want to play her last game in a Trojan jersey, was so huge for them on the defensive end. She's going to be gone too, but even Malia Samuel is a sophomore as well. I'm just going to be interested in seeing how they do on this stage that they've never been on before. Obviously, I do expect UConn to win that game. I'm curious to see how Sarah Strong looks. She was 0 for 5 to start the game against Oklahoma, and it was kind of fun to watch her sort of slowly start to figure things out against Reagan Beers. She finishes with 11 and 11 and has 5 assists, and like, you just love to see the Sarah Strong playmaking aspect of things, because that just really juices things for UConn offenses. That doesn't need any more juice, frankly. They are already number 1 in the nation. They are rolling. They're just deep. They're incredible. But she is going to be important for them, whether it's against USC or it's against potentially UCLA in the Final Four. So I think she is somebody who's definitely someone you want to watch in that game, just to kind of see how she progresses on this stage that she's never been on either as a freshman, who they are relying on quite a bit.